Because I think it's so difficult for people to save now. I mean, as things come up, there are more and more things that get added to the budget, right? More things that kind of have to be paid for.
So I think it all stems from habits.
Like you do that in your 20s and you almost don't have to save anymore when you're in your 40s.
Live and have the same lifestyle on X income, and then that continues to go up. Hey, now we're increasing the savings rate without even actually trying. 10% is good, 12% is great, 15% of your income is exceptional.
If you haven't been a good saver in your 20s or your 30s and your 40s, and all of a sudden you're in your 50s, like 10% is not going to cut it at all. When do you run out of money? And sometimes it's like 3 or 4 years after you retire. Welcome back to Fuchs and Alex Cal. I'm your host, Ben Fuchs, co-host Ben Fuchs.
Mr. Fuchs?
Mr. Cal. All right, so today we're getting back to the basics. And we talk so much about all these like higher level things, the Roth conversions, the qualified small business stock. I mean, we could do like the absolute, like, here are the things that everybody needs to know.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. So it has been a long time since I've taken my CFP, since I became a certified financial planner. You are more recent because, you're younger.
I didn't know.
I think everybody can tell. You don't have as glorious a mustache. I think that's how people know.
I don't think I could grow a mustache.
I don't think that I should grow a mustache. I just kind of left it. We did, we did Halloween and we were the Addams family. And let's be clear, our family killed it. Like, we were great. My daughter, 11-year-old, had the Wednesday death stare down. She did great. I had to shave my beard for Gomez, which I was a little nervous about. And the other half of it was, while I did it, I showed my kids. I walked out of the bathroom and I was like, oh my God, didn't know how to react. My son was like, Dad, no, what did you do to your face? And my 11-year-old was like, you can't leave the house like that. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you can't leave the house. My friends might see you, and that would be really embarrassing. I'm like, it's just a mustache. She's like, no, it's awful. Anyway, because she told me no, and I'm me, here I am. You're welcome.
Yeah.
We'll see if this stays forever, but, anyway. All right. So
at least they didn't get scared.
I think more like scared of embarrassment. But I'm a dad. That's what I'm supposed to do. Right? These
part
are
of the job, isn't it?
And I remind them that. And it used to be like you threaten them with taking away their toys, and they're like, whatever, I don't care. I'm fine with that. Then you're like, oh, I'm going to show up to your school in a pink tutu and a tube top. And they're like, no, I'll do whatever you want. Like, no, don't threaten me.
I'll pay to see that if you
I've seen
are doing it.
I've seen the videos of the parents like showing up in dinosaur costumes, blasting their 90s music. In a heartbeat. I would do that. All right. So back to the basics, not talking about my family anymore. We've got budgeted, right? That was like the first thing. And I've talked about it before where we draw a T on a piece of paper and you put a line in between, right, on that T. And on one side, you do like necessary stuff, right? Things that you absolutely need. And then like discretionary. So it's non-discretionary and discretionary, things that you need, money for rent, electricity, food, gas, like all the basics. And then on the other side are like vacations and like your morning coffee and everything else, things that you don't necessarily need. And let's be clear, I'm not trying to tell somebody that like, hey, once you draw that line on the paper, you don't do any of that stuff. I like my morning coffee. I will buy some unnecessarily expensive stuff because I can, right? Like, let's be clear. Like, and that's not a flex. That's just saying I think anybody's allowed to live their life the way that they want to and can choose to budget however they want to. Alex would never, by the way. Alex, I don't think has spent every money ever.
I have it in the budget, but it's only like $100 a month.
The problem is that he just can understand the compound interest of every dollar that he saves. He's like, why would I do that? Why would I give up that much money? Let me put it away. Am I inside the mind of Alex Cal? Okay.
The other thing is I probably look at the budget more often than people. So.
Fair. I mean, the other thing is, once you've been paying for daycare for 11 years, you're like, screw it. Like, what do you like? Where it goes from like $1,500 a month to like over $2,000 a month. You're like, oh my God, can't believe I'm doing it. And then for 11 years, like their whole college could have been saved, but it wasn't. It went to daycare. You're welcome. Anyway, Maybe you can go back to BrightPath when you need something. Sorry. So budgeting. I would say that this is where a lot of people get in trouble now, because one of the things that we saw last year was that credit card debt, I think, hit over $1 trillion last year, and it has not slowed down this year. So, this exercise for those people that are having trouble is saying, where can I get rid of some things? Because what happens is, paychecks have gone up a little bit and cost of goods have gone up even more. And so people are just maintaining the lifestyle that they had from even 5-6 years ago, right? 2019, before COVID hit, before inflation went up like crazy. They're going to find themselves at a massive loss, right? They're going to that deficit is just going to slowly creep up and creep up. And they're just doing all the same things. They're not being extravagant. And I think a lot of people, they're facing that right now. And so this is that chance to say, all right, let me break everything down. Let me stop. Let me take a look at what I have, and let's see how I can figure out and get out of this debt.
Yeah. I think it's more just coming up with a game plan.
Yeah.
And I know I'm the first person to tell you I run into that same issue,
Good.
Yeah, I know, you'd be surprised. My biggest thing is just eating out.
Okay.
It's just, hey, it's easy. I know I need to eat. Great, let's just get it on the way or while traveling or anything like that.
I wonder if it was like this for you. When I grew up, I mean, I'm the youngest of three. If we ever ate out, and it was rare, if we did, it was like, all right, no drinks, no dessert, no appetizers. You just get the meal and the water, and that's it. Because that's how we could save money and go out. And then when it was like all of a sudden I could earn my own money, I'm like, no, screw that. I'm going to get all the things that I didn't get because I can. I'm going to spend more money and more calories. Anyway, is that like that for you, or is it just a different mentality?
I think I get too focused on what I'm doing, and I will just completely forget to eat for whatever reason, and then I'll just realize, and it's like 5 o'clock, and I have no food, and I'm like, great, I just need something because I'm not gonna, I can't continue to do it.
So whatever the closest thing is, do you have a go-to meal? Do we have like a go-to restaurant? What is?
So that's I do default back.
Can we get inside the mind of Alex? Like, what's inside? Like, what do we got?
So very rarely will I indulge in something that's expensive or high quality. I try to go for a nice balance.
Okay.
It has to have the best price with the most amount of food.
Tell me more.
So usually like rice with a whole bunch of chicken.
Okay.
It's going to be the best.
Okay.
Or like sandwiches.
So you're saying that not only are you budgeting, but you're also budgeting
somewhat
food. Okay, got it. All right.
I would say that's the more like mental math that I'm doing.
So is it like, you can find Alex at all the local all-you-can-eat buffets and like getting kicked out because no, okay.
I would say I will splurge a little bit if it's healthier.
Okay.
That I'm okay.
What is a splurge for Alex?
I don't know. I don't think
what? No,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I very rarely. I don't know. I would say like a massage or
all right.
Even just, I don't know, like a nice restaurant.
Can we completely deviate? I have a story. I was playing basketball the other, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and my wife was making fun of me because I was hobbling, and she's like, "I'm going to get you a massage." So okay, so we go to a place in West Hartford Center, and that gets me the massage, and it's like, they're like hand and foot massage. I'm like, all right, cool, not really knowing what that is. And then, so they lead me down to the basement of this spa.
Okay.
And
do they know who you are? Going down to the basement.
Not where I was excited. So they take me out, and there's this woman who was like probably 70 years old. And if she's listening, I'm sorry if I got your age wrong. Anyway, 70 years old. And I lie, flat. They do the thing with the sheet and whatnot. And all of a sudden, I feel this like crazy amount of pressure on my back. And I'm like, how did this 70-year-old woman? And then I just turn around a little bit, and she is standing on my back, holding on to the ceiling, like with her fingers in between like the pop-ins. And it's just like, and at one point she's like, breathe out. I'm like, okay. And then she jumped in the middle of my back, and
okay. Was it not a nice release at least?
It was terrifying, to be honest. I'm like, this woman is going to fall, and somehow it's going to be my fault, and I can't laugh because she's standing in the middle of my back. Anyway.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't spend money on that now.
Oh, no, I won't be going back there. That was terrifying. I was like more stressed afterwards that I'm going to kill some lady because she's something. All right. Back to the finance. So we talk about budgeting. We talk about credit card debt. savings rates, like where do you see them now? Because I think it's so difficult for people to save now. I mean, I think it's one thing if like if you're single, if you don't have other responsibilities, but I think, as things come up, there are more and more things that get added to the budget, right? More things that kind of have to be paid for. But what would you say, like, rank your savings rates?
Sure. So I think it all stems from habits. Like if we can live and have the same lifestyle on X income, and then that continues to go up.
Sure.
Hey, now we're increasing the savings rate without even actually trying. But
The
when
whole
I look
pay
at
yourself first.
yeah, and the way I look at savings rates is anything and everything, right? If you're putting into the 401k or you're putting into these Roth IRAs or throwing money into a checking account, those are all added to this savings rate.
Okay.
And so, the first thing is we definitely want to go to a match for a 401k. Hey, that's 100% on the list, 100%
Absolutely.
free money.
Like bare minimum.
But I would say once we add that in and everything else, 10% is good, 12% is great, 15% of your income is exceptional. Because if that we just start there, and it's going to be hard for some people, hey, depending on where we start. But if we can build to that and then continue moving forward, then we'll be in an amazing spot.
Right. And there are definitely, like, you do that in your 20s and you almost don't have to save anymore when you're in your 40s, right? You've taken care of all that you need and you've already, not exactly, but I think that there's a lot of that. But, I think there are other parts to that, right? If you haven't been a good saver in your 20s or your 30s and your 40s, and all of a sudden you're in your 50s, like 10% is not going to cut it at all. Now, all of a sudden, now we need to like 20, 25, 30%. I mean, and that's a hard truth, but what we do a lot of is scenario-based planning. I never like to tell somebody, hey man, like you're going to run out of money. Sorry. What I will do is I'll say, listen, let's create your scenario. You're not a client. We're just meeting for the first time. Let's take a look at what you have. Let's see what you're spending. Let's see what you're saving. Let's see what you have, what you're going to get from Social Security, if there's a pension. Let's collect all the information. Let's put it into a really basic program and just say, all right, when do you run out of money? And sometimes it's like 3 or 4 years after you retire. And then we show some different things. What if we save more? What if we spend less? What do we need to do in order to make it so that you can retire when you want to and still be comfortable? And to me, that's what helps people really absorb the changes they need to make. Because I think without that, it becomes very difficult to understand what you need, right? And it's hard to like conceptually visualize that, either like riding in a car or just thinking about retirement. But if I can say, listen, if I save X amount of I remember, it's crazy all my stories are now 10 years ago. But
Were they written on the wall?
Huh?
Like the hieroglyphics on the wall?
Oh, that was an old joke. No, it's hilarious. Yeah. You say that,
I'm
but
glad
like,
you got it though.
but yeah, no, I got it. But you talk about, like, I was there for dial-up internet, so that makes me some kind of a dinosaur.
I was there also, okay?
No, but you okay.
Towards the end.
No, you were not. I had dial-up internet when I was 13, so that was in, God, 1995, and
I wasn't born then.
Okay.
But I do remember.
You do remember.
Playing video games on the computer and my mom taking phone calls and it would not work. I do remember.
Got it. Okay. All right, fine, whatever. Anyway, the point is he's a child.
Not always.
Not at all. No. And to be fair, like, there are certain things where he definitely knows more than me, which is cool. Like, the whole point of this is that what I think is awesome about Alex is that he is inquisitive in different ways than I am. Like, there's some things that, like, I've learned and I'm like, oh yeah, I forget to ask questions about that because it's already ingrained. Whereas Alex is like, oh no, let me continue to dive deeper into the subject. And because I'm around him, I get to see kind of the benefit of that. So it's fun. But yeah, for me, I have to be visual. Like, I have to see the scenario, I have to see the impact. And I think, for a lot of people that don't want to make changes, that's the best way to help them understand. Is that?
I would agree.
Cool. All right. So when we're talking about how much money we put away, we're talking about paying yourself first, we talk about savings rates, and I'm on board with that. 10, 12, 15, with exceptions. That would call that offense, right? What would you call defense?
So defense to me would be, if anything catastrophe hit, we're still okay. We're kind of building in buffers and moats, I guess,
Hmm.
right? So the first would be like an emergency fund. Hey, 3 to 6 months, especially if we have like one person in the household making the most income, probably closer to 6 months, right? The other thing would be, any
6 months of expenses, right? So, like, somebody loses their job, you want to be able to pay the electricity. You want to be able to pay, the mortgage. We feel like those things are important. I wouldn't say 6 months of normal expenses, like we're not going on vacation when you lose your job, right? No.
no,
Okay.
no. Yeah, I would say, all of the bare necessities in that situation
Yeah.
because we are just trying to hey, we're just trying to live until we find another position and then we can kind of recoup it, get back into the rhythm
It's
or
one
the
of those
nice
scenarios where
groove.
spending extra money actually gives you more anxiety, but no. Okay. Sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. So 3 to 6 months of expenses.
As a starting point, from there, especially if, some of our clients are, it's a one income family, we definitely want some life insurance because I can't have you pass away or something happen to you and now the whole plan is derailed and now we're scrambling last minute dealing with the emotional side which I can never help with because you know you lost someone and I can't ever fix that.
I mean, I was trying to imagine you as a psychologist, and I think you do a wonderful job.
I don't know. It'd be hard. The other one which we could help with is financial. Hey, at least the money's there. It does meet all the goals. It does replace the income. At least that side we can, hey, here's a check. At least that'll help a little bit in the meantime.
Right. I don't think there's anything worse than dealing with the grief and then also having to worry about, how you pay rent. And that stuff sucks. I can say, the vast majority of our clients are people that are in their mid to late 50s, early 60s. I mean, typically that's where you are when you become a client. And so a lot of the need for life insurance for me kind of goes away.
Right.
There are certain circumstances where we look at index universal life insurance plans that may have like a combination of life insurance and long-term care. And I would say that would really be what we'd look at for people in our age bracket that we work with. Traditionally, we don't work with a lot of people in their 20s and 30s, but when you're starting a family, that's when the need for life insurance is there. If you don't have a family, it's not the end of the world. A lot of people would joke that like, oh, my wife will just find somebody with more money anyway. But when you've got kids, that changes everything. And that was for me, right? I had kids, and all of a sudden I'm buying a life insurance policy. And then my hands are trembling on the wheel because I'm like, this is when someone's going to take me out. Like, I just got approved for more money than I'm worth. This is when my wife kills me. But, she hasn't yet. So we'll take that.
I'm sure there's a clause in there that says you can't kill your spouse.
Yeah, I mean, that's only if you get caught. My wife would not get caught. Do you know how many?
Does she watch the horror
Oh
shows?
my God, all of them. All of them. She likes psychological thrillers. Like, she's, you know, casting knives and ice picks. So, she's got the whole thing down. So I think that's like the basics for defense. And I think the other part of it is the estate planning, right? It's the wills, the powers of attorney, the thing that you absolutely need. And so we talk about basics for one group. I think that all translates over into retirement. So if we're talking about we need to have a safety net of 3 to 6 months while we're working, we need to have a lot more than that. Typically, I would say 3 to 5 years available when you are not working, because the concern for me and for I think most financial advisors is that when the market crashes, people are sometimes often way too exposed to that. Right. Even if you're in a target date fund. And, that means that as you get older, more of your money goes from stocks into bonds. Everything is wrapped up in that one fund. So, if you're more conservative in that fund and the market falls by 25% and you only fall by 18, you're still down by 18%. And if you had $1 million in that fund, you're down $180,000. You've got to sell some of that at a loss in order to generate your normal income. And so for us, we would never want our clients to be in a position where they have to sell it from the market at a loss in order to pay for what they need. That's when people freaked out in the dot-com bubble and the Great Recession. And, I don't know anybody that's like, yeah, the market crashes. Yeah, I don't have a problem selling when I'm down 30%. Like, no, that's the whole thing. Like, we need to make sure that we can ride through that. And it's frustrating sometimes because you'll talk to people and like, yeah, I never panic when the market is down. I don't have to worry about it. And I'm like, that's great. But you've also never been reliant on the money before. You never had to use this money to live. And now you do. And so it really doesn't matter that you were able to be comfortable through it before. it's a matter of like what you need on a monthly basis or on an annual basis to live the life that you want to. And we need to make sure that those boxes are checked so that you're good.
Yeah, end of the day, I don't want any one of our clients in their 90s asking, well, where's my money now? It's the last thing I would want to ever have a conversation about.
Well, and so I remember, again, a long time ago, I met with a guy who was like 84 years old, and it was a different company, and I had just kind of gotten started in the field, and he only had a couple $100,000 left, and at one point he probably had over $1 million, and maybe that money would still last him the rest of his life. But the anxiety that he felt for worrying about him running out was not worth it. And I think at that point they probably wanted to put him into some kind of annuity and guaranteed income. And I'm like, well, hang on, we don't necessarily need to do that either. I don't like selling income. I get frustrated, right? You need to have access to your money. You can't put everything into an annuity. You can't try to guarantee everything in an annuity, because then you lose the cash value of what you have. When you need to take chunks out for whatever circumstance comes up.
Yeah, life events.
There's always life events. Either yours, your kids, your parents, what have you. There's always going to be something where you're going to need more of that money than you expect to. But I'll never forget the difficulty. Like, and here he is talking to me, and I'm not younger, and so you got a guy who's more than 50 years older than me, talk about how worried he was. And I just never wanted my clients to feel that way, right? Even if you're not going to outlive your money, like, I don't want you to have to worry about the anxiety of feeling like you will.
Right.
So if we can create these plans where people don't have to worry about it, that takes all the pressure off.
Well, that's one of the reasons they come to us, right? They want that not only second opinion, but like, hey, am I doing the right thing? Am I thinking about this the right way?
No.
Or, hey, can I do this a different way while still being okay?
Yeah. Is there anything else that you feel like we need to talk about that we should?
No, but I still think the phrase is the best defense is a great, no, the best offense is a great defense, I think is the phrase.
Yeah, that's not what you said before. I agree with that.
I thought it was close.
Yeah. No, the best offense is a good defense. The best defense is a good. Man, I'm gonna get in trouble.
I feel like you go both ways.
The best offense is a good defense. Yeah, I don't know, man.
You're the one into sports. I'm not.
Yeah, but I don't care about that. I can tell you that defense wins championships. Is that good? And if
I think that's fair.
And if we're going to treat retirement like a championship, we need to make sure that you got good defense, right? We can't just be focused on, you don't see the typically in hockey. And if I know this much about basketball, I know this much about hockey. I just know that when you've gotten to the point where everybody on the hockey team is now on offense and they don't have a goal anymore, it usually means that they're kind of screwed. Like now we're
trying. When they're fighting?
You're right. Like in football, when you're just going for the 80-yard pass, or we're going for the Hail Mary, that's usually when you've already lost the game. Like, and like your chance of success went way down. So we need to make sure that we don't have to throw a Hail Mary in retirement. I think the goal is just not having to worry, and I think that just takes the pressure away. And sometimes that means giving up some gains. That means not trying to get 20% year over year and just being comfortable at 8. We can do that, and man, we can make sure the money lasts. Or we could go for a Hail Mary and we can double the money or cut it in half. To me, the risk reward isn't typically there, but that's why we do the things that we do, and why, people that are trying to quintuple their money every year are not the right client for us. That's not the goal. The goal is to make sure you're comfortable, because we both have to sleep at night, even if our clients aren't comfortable with it. Like, we've talked about our horror stories before. Those are real. Anyway, thank you for joining us for this episode of Fuchs Around and Call Them Out. Stick around for more. Subscribe, like, comment, complain, email, write in questions. That way we don't have to keep on coming up with the stuff. It's a lot easier when you all send us stuff. Thank you, by the way.
Probably do a Q&A soon of just all questions.
That would be better. Anyway, have a great day, y'all.